Hello, Crank Lemonade here again, and I am going to talk about Kamen Rider more today because I love Kamen Rider. Um, so honestly, I discovered Kamen Rider in 2012. Uh, I think my first season was Kamen Rider Wizard, and that season really resonated with me. And since 2012. Any person who has interacted with me has heard the gospel of Kamen Rider, and I've sung its praises forever and ever, like some crazed tokusatsu Mormon running these streets. So, what I'm about to say here is 100% with love. Um, I am genuinely fearful that within the next couple years, the way things have been going with the localization efforts of Kamen Rider, that somebody somewhere is gonna say, "Hey, there's not enough interest. It's not generating enough money." And this is kind of the purpose of my tangent here today. And I do want to say that I do not want to like tear anybody down. Um, this is Kamen Rider Faiz for PS2, by the way. This is going to be the visual for the day. So, when it comes to um the things I've seen, and I think I mentioned in my video with Kamen Rider Kabuto footage, um, I've seen a lot of catering to people who already know about Kamen Rider, people who are, gonna go to conventions, people who are going to buy the premium Bandai figures and the DVD sets because they love the series already. What I'm not seeing is really more of an effort to appeal to people who aren't familiar with Kamen Rider. And I think the key to the growth of Kamen Rider as a franchise in America is awareness. Like, people need to know it exists so that they can watch it. And then they watch it so then they can make that purchasing decision to buy the DVDs or get into SH Figuarts or get into the Figure Rise line and build the models of the Kamen Riders or other things, because there should be other options. Like, I just listed the main options that I know are available for consumers in America for Kamen Rider. And what what happens is, I think that it it appeals to this audience who can afford it. But if I tell somebody like about Kamen Rider the franchise and, like, the things I took away from watching a certain season. So, like, you know, the feeling of hope from Kamen Rider Wizard, the friendship from Kamen Rider Force, you know, uh helping each other with Kamen Rider O, or even like the coolness of Kamen Rider Faiz and the whole Orphan Oak design, talking about how they have so many Apple logos in their shots during the season that it feels like a Apple ad. Like you could take some of the shots where they're not morphing, or I mean, where they're not henching, or where there are no monsters and they're just having dialogue, and like somebody's on a somebody's on an Apple computer. There's an Apple logo visible. Um, and these are things that are fun. You can see it when you watch the show, and then you also get like the plot points, the character developments, because Kamen Rider as a show is a very character driven narrative, and it is aimed at kids, but luckily it is something that appeals to me as an adult in America, and not a Japanese kid who's the target audience for Toei. Um, and you know, I think that's I think that's dope. And there are probably people who would who would watch it. There's an audience of people who grew up watching Big Bad Beetleborg, who grew up watching VR Troopers, who watch Mystic Knights of Tir all those Saban American tokusatsu titles, and they've not gone to watch these Japanese shows. I'm not saying that every season of Kamen Rider is right for everybody, but the more seasons that are available for consumption of by people, the more likely you're going to find the season that resonates with you. The more opportunity you're going to find the character that resonates with you, whether it's a main Kamen Rider like Enyu Takumi from Kamen Rider Faiz, or you know um, Kamen Rider Kaiser. Um, but you won't know until you watch the show. The show itself, from its function, is a toy commercial. You watch the action, you get invested in the action, you get invested in the characters. And then when you see a belt online for that season that you like, you're more than likely to buy it. Or you see a figure from the season that you like, you're more than likely to buy it. So when I see Team Kamen Rider or um, Tokusatsu or Shout Factory themselves, like just making like one Instagram post or one tweet announcing the release of a figure, or announcing the release of um, a Blu Ray set, and I see like 70 likes and like no comments. I'm like, yo, what are y'all doing? Why are y'all not engaging? Why are y'all not trying to get more people into this franchise? Why are you not like replying to the comments of people who are excited, you know? And I do think that all of those places I listed, I think they are probably working to the best of their ability to do what they can about Kamen Rider having more seasons come out. It you know Toei is like the king here, and like I don't know what negotiations are happening. I don't know what rules that they set. Maybe that the social media channels aren't allowed to use clips from the show, or maybe they have some weird rules that we don't know about. But at the same time, there are other things that you can do, right? So, like, for example, um, I saw that I think Shout Factory or one of the teams in Shout uploaded the first episode of Geats to YouTube last week. And that's a start. Like, it is more accessible, but as I mentioned on the video with Kamen Rider Kabuto, people gotta know where to go and where to watch it. And unfortunately, I don't think Tubi is necessarily the best option because, I don't really know a lot of people who use Tubi. I think there are certain people who have a preference towards the streaming platforms that you have to pay money for, um, because of their own reasons. So, maybe getting it on Amazon Prime with the reboot seasons would be more beneficial with it. Like somebody watches uh Amazon Riders or Kamen Rider Black Sun and they're like, yo, I want to know what the regular seasons are like. And it's right there on that streaming platform so that they can watch. But again, that's one thing. Another thing is on social media, when you're doing these toy announcements, like you're using these generic Bandai toys, like why don't y'all like do some figure photography or things like that? Um, if you can't use the footage from the scene, pose the figures like some of the most epic scenes from the show. Or, another thing that y'all could do, you potentially do, is character profiles. You know, you just drop Geats. So do a post about Ace. Do a post about Kamen Rider Buffer. Do a post about anything. Give context to the show so that people who aren't familiar with it can watch it. And hopefully, when I'm editing this, I go back to the part where I say figure photography and I add examples. Um, because at the end of the day, I am a fan of this franchise. I want this franchise to thrive. I want other people to watch the show. So it is kind of to my benefit that these companies don't drop the ball on the localization process. And I think that, part of that, if, going to a paid streaming platform isn't an option up front, is building the audience on social media, getting people hyped about it. Um, when Shout Factory posts about Kamen Rider, that should go in Team Kamen Rider stories. That should go into Tokushoutsu stories. Y'all should be cross posting like crazy. Even if y'all don't necessarily work together or meet together, there is one goal, and that is the success of Kamen Rider. Whether it's, being released on Blu Ray, you clearly want to sell units, and you do have an audience of hardcores, but you could get more people to buy it so that you release more seasons and you could probably put it at a lower price base. But again, I don't know. I look at Shout Factory stuff. There are other stuff outside of Kamen Rider, and it does seem like they do a lot of cult classic things. So, I don't know. But that's all I really got today. Um I'll probably be back with more Kamen Rider. I got plenty to talk about. So thank you for listening, and I'll catch you next time.